Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the procession.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise for the national anthem? Please be seated. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to the 2025 Duke-NUS graduation and hooding ceremony. To graduates of the class of 25, this celebration is yours, and we are gathered for you, for the joyful purpose of sending you off with our best wishes and some final words. To families and friends of the class, a very warm welcome to you. And to the individual and institutional pillars of our community and our esteemed guests, may I extend warm greetings and a grateful welcome for giving today the significance that it deserves with your presence. We have with us our guest of honor, Mr. Ong Ikang, Coordinating Minister for Social Policies and Minister for Health. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Amy Abernethy, co-founder of Highlander Health and member of the Duke University Board of Trustees. Professor Mary Klopman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke University and Dean of the Duke University School of Medicine. Mr. Go-Yu Lin, Chairman of the Duke-NUS Governing Board. Professor Ng-Wai Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health. Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of the Duke-NUS Governing Board. Duke-NUS Governing Board members, Professor Thomas Kaufman, Dean of Duke-NUS, deans, faculty, distinguished guests, and colleagues. Thank you all for being here. My name is Shiva Sarafyazi, and as the Vice Dean of Education, I have the distinct privilege of hosting today's ceremony. To begin our program, Dean Kaufman will share his welcome address. As Professor Kaufman prepares to step down as Dean of Duke-NUS later this year, let's please give him an especially warm welcome.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Guest of honor, Mr. Ong Ikang, Minister of Health, our keynote speaker, Dr. Amy Abernethy, co-founder of Highlander Health, and also member of the Duke University Board of Trustees. Professor Mary Klopman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke University and Dean of the Duke University School of Medicine. Mr. Go-Yu Lin, Duke-NUS Governing Board Chair. Professor Ng-Wai Ho, CEO of Sing Health. Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chair of the Duke-NUS Governing Board, Duke-NUS Governing Board members, distinguished guests, faculty, families, and friends, and most importantly, the incredible class of 2025. Please. So it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you today to today's graduation ceremony, where we mark a milestone that's not an ending, but really the next step in our graduates' journeys into medicine, discovery, and innovation. Today, we'll proudly recognize 3 groups of graduates: 74 medical students who will receive MD degrees, 26 PhD recipients, including 5 individuals from our MD PhD program who will be graduating with dual degrees. And in addition, we'll recognize 22 recipients of master's degrees. So first, can I call on all of the graduates to stand up, please, so we can see you and recognize you and celebrate you. It's an awesome group. And of course, behind every graduate stands a network of, you can sit down now. Behind every graduate stands a network of steadfast supporters. So now could I please ask the graduates' families, friends, and loved ones who are here to rise and let us thank you with our applause. You help make today possible too. So congratulations to all of you. You can sit now too. So along with, as you heard, along with the graduates and their loved ones, we're honored to have an exceptional group of visiting celebrities here with us today. We're extremely pleased to have as our guest of honor, Minister of Health, Mr. Ong Ye Kung. Over the years, we've appreciated Mr. Ong's support of Duke-NUS, back from the time when he was Minister of Education. And we're happy that you'll be remaining at MOH, and we look forward to continue to work closely with you over the coming years. I'd also like to acknowledge our keynote speaker, Dr. Amy Abernathy. I'm really especially pleased to have Amy here. I've known her since she was a medical resident back at Duke, and even at that early age, it was clear that she had incredible talent and potential, and we could see what happens after that. Indeed, she's the embodiment of what we would call at Duke-NUS as a clinician plus with a capital P. She's a highly competent oncologist, pioneer in the field of palliative care, internationally recognized clinician researcher who later shifted to more entrepreneurial pursuits as a leader at Flatiron Health, followed by a brief stay at FDA before moving to Verily, and then most recently founding her latest exciting venture, Highlander Health. So thanks very much for being here, Amy. Really appreciate it. We're also deeply honored to have Dr. Mary Klopman here with us today. As you heard, Mary's the Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke University, Dean of the School of Medicine, as well as being one of our Duke-NUS governing board members. She's been a loyal supporter of Duke-NUS, strengthening the bonds between Durham and Singapore and underscoring this deep and lasting partnership that we share with Duke. Also, in full disclosure, Mary's been a dear friend since we were interns together back at Duke. Just a few years ago, right? I'm also pleased that Mary's husband, Paul, is here with us today, up here in the front row next to Jen. So when Mary and I were interns, Paul was our chief resident. That's real, that really happened. And he's also been a lifelong friend and valued mentor. And notably for the past 15 years and counting, Paul served as the president and CEO of Baylor College of Medicine. Finally, I'd like to give a special shout out to Professor Ng Wai Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health, our steadfast partner in academic medicine. And of course, for a large number of the medical graduates, Wai Ho will be your boss next year. And indeed, you'll be very fortunate to serve as house officers in the very dynamic ecosystem of the Sing Health Duke-NUS Academic Medical Center, where you have the privilege of training in an environment with high standards of clinical and academic excellence, supported by truly outstanding clinical mentors. But let's get back to the reason we're here today, and that's our graduates. So let's start with the master's graduates. Eight of them are from the Master's in Translational Medicine program, and 14 from our new Master's in Patient Safety and Healthcare Quality. This is the only program of its kind in our region and brings together the Sing Health Duke-NUS Institute for Patient Safety and Quality and our Center for Lifelong Learning with the aim of building capacity, leadership capability, and strong cultures in the area of patient safety. And we have a pretty big batch of PhD students this year. 11 from our flagship Integrated Biology and Medicine PhD that's tightly linked to our signature research programs and comes with a PhD that's jointly awarded by Duke University and NUS. 6 are receiving PhDs from our Quantitative Biology and Medicine program, which we designed to help to produce graduates who could seize opportunities in data science and healthcare. And finally, 9 are practicing clinicians who have completed the Clinical and Translational Sciences PhD program, while also navigating the responsibilities of busy clinical practice. They really represent an embodiment of the Duke-NUS mission, which is to produce clinician scientists for Singapore, outstanding clinicians who also do research, and research in this case that's directly informed by the need for better solutions at the bedside. So let me turn now to say a few words to our MD graduates. As you heard, this is really especially momentous and kind of sentimental occasion for me. This will be my 10th and final time I'll be addressing a group of Duke-NUS graduates as dean. As Shiva said, I'll be stepping down at the end of December when my very accomplished and capable successor, Professor Patrick Tan, will be taking over. You're in the front row. Patrick, congratulations. So I have to say sincerely that one of the things I've truly enjoyed over this past 10 years has been getting to know the incredible medical students that come through our school, including this class of 2025. From my perspective, as each class comes and goes, it's a wonderful and exhilarating 4-year cycle, which is easy for me to say. I know I'm not the one hitting the books every night, but it truly is a wonderful thing to watch. And it ends with this, a group of exceptional, well-prepared, and seasoned medical students who are ready to move on to the next phase of their careers. And you are ready for it. You're prepared. You're going to do well. And over the past 10 years, as I've watched you and your predecessors go through this process of becoming doctors, I'm continually inspired and grateful. Grateful for your talents, dedication, loyalty, commitment, the care you show for your classmates and mentors, your efforts to give back to our community, and the positive impact you've had on the school during the time you spent with us. Duke-NUS is 20 years old this year, in case you haven't heard. See the 20 up there on the screen. But that's still relatively young as medical schools go. And as time goes by, our school will ultimately be judged by the quantity and successes of you, the class of 2025, and the rest of our graduates who now number over 800. As you join this group, I'm confident you'll be yet another cohort of outstanding young doctors who will make us proud and also make your school look good. And I'm counting on that last part. So now, as I'm about to close my talk, I'm at that point where the graduation speaker is supposed to come up with something inspirational to say to the graduates. I got to say, after 10 years of graduation speeches, I was feeling a little like I was kind of running out of material. But recently, at a kind of a melancholy moment, I was inspired by reading the obituary of one of the icons of Duke medicine, who recently and sadly passed away, Dr. Ralph Corey, who Mary, Amy, and Paul and I all knew extremely well. Ralph was a larger-than-life figure in the Duke Department of Medicine. He served as the medicine training program director for almost 20 years. He taught many generations of trainees the correct Duke way to practice medicine, and there is a Duke way. He was smart, tough, and demanding, but deep down also really cared about house staff and students, and was a major proponent of the Duke ethos of working hard, patients first, and really knowing your stuff, which is not dissimilar from the ethos of our own AMC here. Lots of similarities, actually, in the culture. So, as was recounted in his obituary, Ralph was known for pulling out his copy of the textbook, Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine, which is a big 4,000-page read book. In fact, I should probably ask the graduates, how many of you have heard of or have used Harrison's textbook Internal Medicine? A few. How about the rest of the group? I'm sure the faculty must. Yeah, okay, me too. Okay, doesn't really matter the story, but I'm just curious. But Ralph would pull out his textbook and he would ask the residents whether they could find the most important passage in the book. And of course, the terrified residents never got it right. And so Ralph would move past the chapters about diseases, diagnosis, and treatments, and he'd direct them to the very first passage in the very first chapter, written back in 1950 by Tinsley Harrison, who was the editor-in-chief and quite an icon in American medicine. So the passage reads, "No greater opportunity, responsibility, or obligation can fall to the lot of a human being than becoming a physician. In the care of the suffering, he needs technical skill, scientific knowledge, and human understanding. Tact, sympathy, and understanding are expected of the physician, for the patient is no mere collection of symptoms, signs, disordered functions, damaged organs, and disturbed emotions. He is a human, fearful and hopeful, seeking relief, help, and reassurance. The true physician has a Shakespearean breadth of interest in the wise and the foolish, the proud and the humble, the stoic and the whining rogue. He cares for people." My editorial comment is here, these key features of a physician can never be replaced by AI. This is the essence of what we do as physicians, and I think this is really, to me, one of the most eloquent descriptions of what it means to be a physician, the combination of humanity and science, empathy and skill, curiosity and understanding. So I hope the graduates might reflect on this and take it with you as you move on now to become real doctors very soon. So with that, let me congratulate you, class of 2025. Wish you all fulfilling and rewarding careers, and I hope that you enjoyed being at Duke-NUS as much as we enjoyed having you here. Thanks and good luck.
Thank you, Dean, for that very thoughtful and touching address. It is now our distinct privilege to welcome our guest of honor, Coordinating Minister for Social Policies and Minister for Health, Mr. Ong Ye-Kang. Over the years, Minister Ong has helped steer national initiatives in education and healthcare that continue to shape Singapore's future, areas deeply interconnected with our work at Duke-NUS. During his time at the Ministry of Education, Minister Ong introduced key initiatives that reshaped Singapore's academic landscape, emphasizing critical thinking, adaptability, and lifelong learning. Since assuming the health portfolio in 2021, he has continued to drive meaningful change, and under his leadership, national programs like Healthier SG and Age Well SG have taken root, putting prevention and active aging at the center of Singapore's healthcare transformation. By championing the integration of education and healthcare, he has helped shape the environment in which institutions like ours can educate tomorrow's health professionals. As we celebrate the accomplishment of our graduating class, we are deeply honored to have Minister Ong with us today. His presence affirms the value of our shared mission to advance medical education, research, and care in Singapore. Please join me in welcoming Minister Ong.
Thank you. I stood up too early. I didn't realize there's such a nice introduction. As I was sitting there, I noticed this is 100 years of Duke, 20 years of Duke-NUS, and you add the two numbers up, it's 120 years of NUS. And this will never happen again. If you just calculate, it doesn't happen again. Incidentally, today is my 28th wedding anniversary with my wife. And I didn't mean to solicit an applause, but my wife reminded me we are 56 years old, so we spend half our life getting married, and it will never happen again. It's exactly half. Next year is a different fraction. Professor Tom Kaufman, Dean of Duke-NUS Medical School, Duke-NUS faculty and staff, graduates, family members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to join you today for the graduation and hooding ceremony of Duke-NUS. This year's graduation ceremony is particularly significant as it marks 20 years since Duke-NUS was established in Singapore. So over 2 decades, Duke-NUS has distinguished itself as the institution which develops medical professionals anchored in academic medicine and translational research. I believe this has helped catalyze the transformation of healthcare in Singapore as we synergize research and clinical practice throughout our system. Duke-NUS has also contributed beyond education and healthcare. From the invention of the CPAS test, which can detect neutralizing antibodies for SARS-CoV-2 virus, your contribution to Singapore's first homegrown cancer drug candidate targeting the Wnt signaling pathway, an AI-driven cardiac triage tool, you have made your mark in healthcare innovation and enterprise. Today, the school has become a vital node in our national research ecosystem. As Duke-NUS celebrates its 20th anniversary, I thank you for your contribution to Singapore and wish you many more good years under a new dean, and we look forward to working with you. Let me now turn our attention to the graduates. I wrote this speech particularly for those who are going to be clinicians. My heartiest congratulations to you and your families. All graduates today have taken a longer path to become a medical doctor. Some of you have first degrees unrelated to medicine or science, which makes the journey even more challenging. Furthermore, You started your studies with a global pandemic and ending it with significant uncertainties surrounding university education in the US. Your journey cannot get more eventful than this, which makes your accomplishment now even more fulfilling. Whatever your background and path taken, I wish all of you the very best as you embark on a career in medicine, stepping into hospitals and clinics with Waiho as your boss, meeting your first patients, writing your first case notes, making your first prescriptions, dealing with your first medical emergency, and contributing to our healthcare system and the well-being of our people. It is tradition for speakers at commencement ceremonies to share their wisdom about life and career. We heard Tom's. My sharing today, however, is limited by the fact that you are medically trained while I'm not. But it will be informed by the fact that we are all working in healthcare in different parts of the system, me locked up in an office next door, but I think we share the same ethos and we share the same mission. Today, I would like to talk about two qualities which I think are most needed in a career in healthcare. It is from what I observe as Minister for Health. The first is resilience. In Singapore, it is widely known that medical schools are the most difficult to gain admission into. It is common for medical students to have perfect academic scores and an impressive record in sports, the arts, and volunteer work. The best students get into medical schools. Therefore, medical students justifiably have high expectations about your future after graduation. Yet, when you step out of school into the hospital, you can get a rude shock. Patient load is high, night calls are long, patients and their loved ones can be demanding, the pay is not necessarily the highest, the position and the profession not necessarily the most prestigious, and a few patients may even file complaints with the SMC against you. You may wonder if this is what you bargained for and what you sign up for, and I want to assure you this is normal and par for the course. These are the inherent challenges of the profession that you have chosen and you can overcome. MOH and our healthcare clusters have put in place systems and processes to help you address these challenges. For example, we are expanding our healthcare manpower resources to cope with patient volume, progressively reducing the duration of night calls, and we take a zero-tolerance approach to abusive patients and family members. Our healthcare clusters have appointed chief wellness officers to establish a support network to look after the welfare and mental wellness of its staff. We also encourage supervisors to be nurturing and supportive to junior doctors. And on the personal front, you have to focus on the good that you are delivering to patients and understand that the vast majority of patients and their families are thankful for your work, but they choose to be silent. This brings me to the second important quality in healthcare, which is optimism. As a doctor, you are most likely going to see people, even on a daily basis, who are sick, weak, in some form of distress and anxiety, and such work can be emotionally draining. But remember, you cannot get dragged down. Patients need your help and your guidance. They always look to you for hope. So find the optimism and positivity in you to lift them up. Even if you cannot offer hope, and there will be times you cannot, at least offer comfort and support. I speak with some empathy, even though I'm not a doctor, because there are similarities between a doctor and being a member of parliament and minister. We often see MPs and ministers being guests of honors, taking pictures on stage with pomp and ceremony. But in actual fact, most of our work involves spending time meeting residents in the evening, listening to their concerns and their problems, visiting homes and places in the community to meet people listening to their concerns and their problems, addressing numerous issues and complaints raised through public emails, even after we get home. We work 7 days a week. I got used to it. And in an election, the pace intensifies. And we must be able to withstand political attacks and even online vitriol. But these, as I said, is par for the course, part and parcel of the job, inherent in our profession. Without doing all these, we cannot be an MP or minister, which enables us to make an impact and render all the hard work and sacrifice worthwhile. I come to realize that actually the great majority of residents that I have to work with and serve appreciate our work, but they will not tell us. The minority of residents who are unhappy with us tend to be vocal. Hence, when I get a complaint, I will try to address it. But when I get an email or a letter of compliment, I will keep it. I have a special folder in my mailbox where I keep all the compliments. There are not many, but over the years it grew. Appreciative people are quiet. In my younger days as an MP and minister, I would go through these positive messages occasionally to shore up my resilience and my optimism. Today, I need it much less, as I've internalized the necessary mindset. That said, the greatest source of resilience, optimism, and strength comes from the people we work with in healthcare, whom we share the same mission and purpose and go through thick and thin together. I believe in public healthcare, you are rarely alone in facing your challenges and fears because we always work as a team. And one of the most valuable things I have gained in my last few years as Minister for Health are the colleagues I worked with. They may see me as their boss, but I have learned tremendously from them. And this is also why I think it is difficult to leave public healthcare. Actually, for doctors, nurses, it's the same. Attrition rate is generally healthy, contrary to some claims. To all the graduates today, you will be practicing in a healthcare system that is fast changing. A rapidly aging world population, revolutionary medical technological advancements, the shortage of healthcare manpower globally have created a strong impetus for healthcare transformation. And Singapore is responding proactively and quickly. We are moving healthcare upstream towards prevention. We implemented the Healthier SG strategy. We are investing heavily in our community care system and infrastructure, where we embed social support and health services. And as a result, the center of gravity of care is shifting towards the community. We are placing a stronger emphasis on mental health, which will likewise be anchored on preventive and community care, including in schools and preschools. Healthcare manpower from doctors, nurses to allied health professionals and community care workers are expanding. More importantly, their roles will evolve over time as we shift healthcare into the community. We are using more digital and AI technology in healthcare. They will not replace healthcare workers and judgment of doctors, but they will remove tedious tasks, augment capabilities, and create new opportunities. This is therefore a pivotal moment for healthcare. You are standing at the threshold of great change. Amidst great change, we as humans instinctively look for constants to hang on to. And in healthcare, what is the constant? And Tom has pointed out, and that is the human connection with your patients. Because at its heart, this is what medicine is about: service to the society, community, and to your patients. Despite their rapid advancement, AI and technology cannot replace this. In times of stress, uncertainty, and setbacks, you will need to reach deep into your values of professionalism, integrity, and compassion. Let these be your anchors. Patients may not remember your diagnosis or treatment plan, but they will remember if you listened, if you showed empathy, if you treated them with dignity. Let these be your guide and your compass. So to the class of 2025, be the doctor who listens. the advocate who cares, the catalyst that embraces and brings about change for the better. Be the leader who inspires. Be the human who is resilient, unfazed by challenges, and lifts the spirits of others through your optimism. I have every confidence in the good that you will bring. Congratulations once again, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Ong, for generously sharing your precious time with us today and for your forward-looking and very hope-inducing thoughts with our graduates. So now, moving on to our keynote address. Delivering today's address is Dr. Amy Abernethy, and please stay seated because it's going to take a while, Amy. An oncologist, serial entrepreneur, and standard setter, Dr. Abernethy is a champion for speeding the pace at which safe and effective treatments reach patients with progressive and responsible use of healthcare data. Dr. Abernethy is a former principal deputy commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and while there, she also served as acting chief information officer. Today, she's a co-founder of Highlander Health, a firm advancing evidence generation and personalized healthcare for the new era of medical innovation. She has said that this company, aiming to speed better evidence and lasting impact, is a natural culmination of her life's work. Previously, she served as Chief Medical Officer and President of Product Development at Verily, Alphabet's precision health business, spearheading solutions that connect clinical care and research. Her earlier roles include Chief Medical Officer and Chief Scientific Officer at Flatiron Health, and before that, Professor of Medicine at the Duke School of Medicine, as well as Director of Center for Learning Healthcare at the Duke Clinical Research Institute and Director of Cancer Care Research Program at the Duke Cancer Institute. Dr. Abernethy has been an avid learner and teacher, a hematologist-oncologist, a palliative medicine physician, and an author of over 500 publications and counting. I mean, it's not even 5 o'clock yet. As evidenced by her illustrious career and superlative capabilities, whether at a startup or Fortune 15 company, national regulator, or top university, she dares to run toward hard problems. It is our privilege to have Dr. Amy as a speaker, and please join me in warmly welcoming her.
Hello. Good afternoon and hello. Guest of honor, Mr. Ong Yi-kung, Minister of Health, Professor Mary Klotman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs at Duke University and Dean of the Duke University School of Medicine, Dr. Go Yilin, Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Professor Eng-Wei Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health, Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Duke-NUS Governing Board members, Professor Tom Kaufman, Dean of Duke-NUS, distinguished guests, faculty, family, and friends, and graduating students, a huge and hearty congratulations to the class of 2025. You did it, and I'm honored to be here with you to celebrate this incredible day and your incredible success. Being here with you, with your families, your friends, your cheerleaders, witnessing, it reminds me of my graduation from Duke Medical School, May 1994 in Durham, North Carolina. Anxiety of the unknown and cautious confidence that it would be okay, excitement, anticipation, a sense of possibility. May 1994, there were 100 in my medical school class, about 7 MD PhDs. 20 classmates, including me, we were toward the end of the line, processing towards the stage. We each carried a giant white card, raising them simultaneously to spell Becky, will you marry me? Dave, now a dermatologist, he carried the giant question mark at the end of the line. Will you marry me? Will you support me? I know I asked a lot of my husband, even before he was my husband. The long hours, the overnight call, medical talk with dinner with friends. My husband, he had to be all in. Will you run alongside me? I met several of your classmates who told me about running together through Singapore, hanging together, supporting each other, having fun. Will I? Will I be a good doctor? Will I make the right diagnosis? Will I be an effective communicator, especially when patients and families need me most? Will I publish an important discovery in Nature? Will I be a good parent, partner, friend? One of your classmates has a 2-month-old. I can imagine the many other children or children to be. Will we make it through PGY1? Will we lead Singapore to better health? Will we discover the cure to Alzheimer's disease together? Will we change the world together? Yep, you will change the world in your own way, but it may or may not follow a traditional career path, the one that you had always planned. At least it didn't for me. When I was in your seat, I was at Duke in Durham. I assumed that I would do internal medicine, a hematology-oncology fellowship, and become an academic oncologist, attending on the wards and running clinical trials. Near the end of my chief residency, my husband, who was not in medicine, he came home and he had said that he had been offered the job of a lifetime in Australia. I thought I had everything planned, but there was this amazing opportunity for my husband. Will you support me? How do I blend this unexpected deviation from my perfectly planned career? What will I do? I looked for help all around me. I asked mentors, advisors, and friends, including Ralph Corey, who helped me find a clinical home at Flinders University in Adelaide, while also being a part of Duke. In Australia, I finished my oncology fellowship, learned palliative medicine. I did a PhD in informatics and clinical trials, and had a baby boy and a baby girl in 15 months. Being willing to jump in at an important moment in my husband's life, in his story, was the most critical and impactful personal career decision I ever made. Learning to adapt, finding a practical path forward, even when it wasn't obvious. Learning how to rely on a network of mentors, colleagues, and friends. 2003, time to travel from Australia back to Duke in Durham, North Carolina. I joined the medical school faculty as a melanoma doc and clinical researcher. Melanoma, the most deadly form of skin cancer. There were basic science laboratories on the walls, on the other side of the walls on both sides of my clinic. But it would take longer for those discoveries in those laboratories to reach my patients than my patients had to live. Accelerating the timeline to get meaningful new discoveries to my melanoma patients and others like them became my raison d'etre, the problem I am still determined to solve to this day. I worked on this problem at Duke, leaning on research informatics, clinical trials, software development that I learned in Australia. Then I shifted to health tech, to government, to big tech, and now as an investor and entrepreneur, all to solve the same problem, to help my patients. Moving to Australia taught me flexibility and career creativity to solve big problems. It gave me the courage to jump again and again. As I shapeshifted my career, it became clear that the fundamentals of medicine and scientific training are the core ingredients and strengths for success in massively different environments and jobs. It's about learning to lead and solve problems that matter, regardless of venue. In medical and graduate school, you learned the details. You assimilated the facts. You became very skilled at presenting the case to the consultant or to the lead scientist, effectively and succinctly. You built your grit. You learned to dig in even when it was really hard. These are foundational skills. I know I've been better in every role because I can confidently present the case, because I have grit, and because I can deal with failure. Soon, many of you will move on to your provisional medical license, PGY1, 4-month postings on the medical wards. We always talk about late call nights and long hours, but the real difference is responsibility. As a house officer, the patients are your responsibility. On the medical wards, you will build your instincts. In the beginning, it's somewhat terrifying. All you really know how to do is to make lists and to check off your lists as you go along, just hoping a patient doesn't get hurt. Check the labs, give the potassium, report on the abdominal exam. The list seems so long. It's hard to do it all. Plus, you don't really know what can be left undone or left until later. About 6 to 8 months in, metamorphosis. It just suddenly clicks. Sick versus not sick. An instinctual knowledge of how to triage. You stand up taller. Your lists feel less daunting. There's a spring in your step, and you know how to trust your gut. Similarly, as a postdoc in the lab, you have a fresh responsibility to propose the science and plan the experiments. How do you find new ideas, distinguish yourself from the crowd? You follow the well-worn paths of reading the literature, generating data, listening to lectures at conferences, until suddenly it clicks. Rote checklists give way to being able to see new patterns and form new ideas. Instinct. Instinct helped me know when to move to the next job, to know which career decisions would be the most helpful for melanoma patients and others like them. We learn instinct on the wards and at the lab bench. Back on the medical wards, as a new house officer, the rest of your team, they watch carefully from a distance. Junior and senior residents, medical officers, registrars, consultants, nurses, allied health professionals. You're in the OR, the emergency room, internal medicine wards, peds clinics. You will be part of teams, small and large. The team is watching carefully. They have your back. As you are learning to take PGY1 responsibility for your patients and accomplish your long lists, the team is quietly by your side, keeping you safe. They've already built the instinct for when things can go wrong and are here to help you. At 2 a.m. on the leukemia ward, the blood pressure will be 60/40. Listen to the nurses. Trendelenburg, fluids, blood cultures, antibiotics, call the ICU. Listen to the nurses. They are with patients 24/7 and have mastered instinct. They have your back. Over in the lab, the basic science bench is a similar community, bringing together different scientific disciplines and an array of tools and techniques. Discoveries happen at the intersections. Team members help you vet your ideas, cross-check your experiments, make sure that the temperature in the -80 freezer is correct. The team has your back. Leadership is about learning from others around you, letting them lead while you learn to lead with respect and humility. As your training advances as a more senior resident, medical officer, or registrar, you learn to lead from the front and the back. In morning rounds, you take the helm and lead the parade through the wards, making sure that each patient is attended to and all tasks are assigned. But you also know when to step aside so that the consultant can take over, or the nephrologist can tell the team that the patient needs dialysis. Everything I know about leading companies and in government, and even leading at Duke and Durham, I learned from the teams in the hospital and my PhD lab. I was Principal Deputy Commissioner of the FDA from 2019 to 2021. When our 28,000 employees needed to know that their extra efforts in managing the pandemic mattered, I knew how to stand at the podium and cheer them on. But when an FDA reviewer needed to make a bold decision about a new COVID-19 medicine, I knew how to set the stage and then step back and support. Back on the medical wards again. Leading your team, you will build esprit de corps, camaraderie, mutual support for everyone on the team, and team pride. Showing up with a silly joke to start the day, stopping for tea and biscuits after rounds, admiring each person on the team as an individual. And you'll learn the importance of lingua franca, building a common language. The medical chart is the common ground where the acronyms have to make sense to different disciplines, not just infectious diseases, neurosurgery, and OB-GYN, but also nursing, psychology, and chaplains. Building Esperanto includes a common vocabulary plus respectful communication that builds trust on your team, across the wards, and with patients. Leading your team on the wards, you learn when to create consensus, but also when to forego consensus because decisive action is needed. During a code or in the emergency department, you step in to lead the team until the patient is out of peril. Then you step back and give the team space to debrief or to grieve or to simply just be. In the community of the lab bench, the same simple principles apply. You witness and learn the many forms of leadership, the value of establishing common vocabulary and team lunches. You learn to lead. You celebrate the discoveries of others on the team, and they celebrate yours. My first adult job beyond the formal boundaries of the hospital was a company called Flatiron Health, 2014. A health tech startup in New York City. I was employee number 30, chief medical officer, and seemingly twice the age of everybody else. We built software like an oncology electronic health record and curated real-world data from medical records to identify best cancer treatments. Engineers, product managers, biostatisticians, doctors. But we all seemed to talk past each other, and it was very hard to make progress. But I had joined Flatiron for my melanoma patients. I could communicate patient stories and explain why our work at a health tech company was so important to improve cancer care. Build a common vocabulary for the Flatiron team, our lingua franca, so then we could learn to understand each other. I knew how to lead from the side, from the back, and from the front. Show the way, but not demand. I learned that on the medical wards, and it was key to Flatiron's success. And finally, on the wards, you learn how to find the right words in the most difficult moments for patients and their families, giving bad news. And you learn that many times it isn't what's said, but it is how you listen. This might be the most powerful part of your medical and scientific training, how to talk about things that others find so hard. It has gotten me through conversations with leaders of state, letting employees go in the midst of financial hardship, and talking with my mom's friend about her cancer. I'm a better doctor, researcher, business leader, wife, mom, and person because of it. So, you are embarking on the next step in your remarkable path. You will learn to trust your gut, distinguish sick from not sick. You will learn to lead from the front, from the back, to build esprit de corps and lingua franca, to talk about the hard stuff, build community at the lab bench. As a leader of teams large and small, your team flies in formation. What will you do with it? For many of you, I see a great career leading from the hospitals and clinics of Singapore. For others, you are leading from your labs, in industry, or in government. Or maybe you're like me, solving problems from many different perspectives. The terrific part is you are equipped. Medicine and biomedical science are the most facile degrees, preparing you for many different paths. The skills can take you in any direction, and you are leaders. You are pluripotent. So follow your why, your raison d'etre. For me, the story started in the melanoma clinic, but I find myself solving similar problems in genetic diseases, liver disease, rheumatology, even the OR. These days, my craft is called artificial intelligence, healthcare AI, entrepreneurship, personalized medicine, but it's really all the same pursuit of getting treatments that work to the people who need them as quickly as possible. Leadership required, learned on the wards. Indeed, you can change the world. Each of you can change the world. In your clinics, on the wards, in the OR, in the delivery suite, in your lab, in your company, in the government, as a parent, as a partner, as a friend. Medicine and scientific training have taught you. Have the courage to jump in and shift your story as needed to follow your raison d'etre. You have what it takes. So back to May 1994. Dave, with this giant question mark, looked out in the crowd. My husband's job was to make sure Becky was sitting in the right place, and she said yes. So thank you for saying yes to medicine, to science, to leadership, and to possibility, because the world will be a better place because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abernethy, for your warm, wonderful, and wonderfully uplifting words. Now, inspired by reflections from our leaders and speakers, it gives me great pleasure to invite our Duke-NUS alumna from the class of 2024, Dr. Gayatri Gupta, to present the graduating class and their ceremonial hooders. Dr. Gupta, please.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Good afternoon, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be invited to present the graduating class. Today marks the graduation of our 11th cohort of MD PhDs and PhDs who joined the 15th cohort of MD class in this hooding ceremony. May I now invite Professor Pierce Chow on stage to commence with the PhD program in Clinical and Translational Science hooding. I would also like to invite our guest of honor, Minister Ong Ye Kung, to present the scrolls and Dean Kaufman to present the certificate holders. Gentlemen, please join us on stage. It is my honor now to present the PhD graduates with their research supervisors and ceremonial hooders. Dr. Chua Se Kinon and Professor David Burship. Dr. Aya Prasad Ramakrishnan and Assistant Professor Shruti Bhatt. Dr. Shirin Kalimuddin and Professor Ui Eng Yong. Dr. Koh Hong Siang Frederick and Professor Tay Bin Tian. Dr. Lee Yong and Associate Professor Daniel Ting Shu Wei. Dr. Michaela Seng Shu Fen and Professor Silke Vogel. Dr. Sahil Thakur and Professor Cheng Jin Yu. Dr. Tan Hien and Professor Huang Yin Ki William. Thank you, Professor Chow. Next, it's my pleasure to invite Professor Silke Vogel on stage now to commence the PhD hooding for programs in quantitative biology and medicine and integrated biology and medicine. It is my honor to present the PhD graduates with Professor Vogel and their research supervisors. Lee Si-Ti and Associate Professor Liu Nan. New Cheng Lin and Associate Professor Liu Nan. CIE and Associate Professor Ashley St. John. Yuan Han and Associate Professor Liu Nan. Alison Choi Ning Sin and Professor Ui Eng Yong. Gu Xiaoyang and Associate Professor Mei Wen Casey. Lo Sin E. Casherin and Professor Nicholas Graves. Mai Ishan and Associate Professor Adam Claridge Chung. Ho Tong Wee and Professor Patrick Tan. Aishwarya Prakash and Dr. Saureen Hernandez. Swati Shivaram Suratkal and Assistant Professor Jun Nishiyama. Teo Hui Woon and Associate Professor Mei Wang Casey. Yap Chia Chen and Associate Professor Hu Chiang Cheng. Teng Dan Yi and Assistant Professor Jun Nishiyama. Next, we will proceed with the ceremonial hooding of our MD-PhD class with their research supervisors, Wu In, Walton Chan, and Professor Wang Lingfa. Darren Mok Tze Liang and Professor Ui Ing Yong. Catherine Nayang and Professor Salvatore Albani. Tan Kai Wei and Assistant Professor In Marie Chako. Ying Fang Ting Ariel and Professor Ko Woon Pui. Thank you, Professor Vogel. We will now like to invite Associate Professor Lai Shang Hui and Dr. Irene Lee to join us on stage for the ceremonial hooding of our MD class. Abu Bakar bin Othman. Chai Shu Xian Eleanor. Chan Ho Yin. Ezreal Nicole Chang. Ji Zhengwen. Elizabeth Zheng Jingwen. Grace Zheng En Hui. Cheong Tie Thi. Ezekiel Cheong Tzu Kun. Chen Ye Lai. Chow Wai Shin Dana. Cheryl Chow Yu Xuan. Adya Sanjay Deshpande. Rashida Farin. Fu Brian. Gan Yu. Henry Go Dishan. Pamela Go Hui Yi. Han Re To Nicholas. Maimi Higuchi. Welkin Su Wei Ting. Jun Han Yi. Lumi Kinjo. Ko Wei Shen. Stephanie Chu Wei Kong. Kwak Che Woon. Lau Rei Ling Rina. Jolene Lee Lei Lin. Li Yishuan. Leong Wei Chuan Edmund. Lim En Thi. Lim Eugene. Liao Yueying. Lo De Rong. Lu Weisheng. Jesriel Lo Julie. Jermaine Low. Benedict Louis Ng. M. Hema Prasad. Gerald Ng Xuan Zong. Jedediah Ryan Ng. Ng Yong Ti. Ong Eun Tzu Isaac. Wilson Ong Wei Siang. Pang Wei Ming Jeremy. S. Punita. Claire Marie Shrestha. Shireen Sun Sherin. Tan Tse Ning Jermaine. Tan Etin Edina. Tan Yubin. Te Shu Xuan Lian. Teo Kai Min. Charmaine Te Le Min. Glenda Wee Ti Hui. Faith Wong Pi Ying. Wong Wai Kit. Yvonne Wong Ti Feng. Yang Lu. Noayo Singing. Yoroti Joey. Yoi Tian Felicity. Yiki Jin Vanessa. Pierre Yim Ying Chi. Zheng Ningxuan. Zhang Yue. Thank you, Associate Professor Lai and Dr. Lee. Next, may I invite Professor Scott Compton and Professor Salvatore Albani for the ceremonial hooding of our graduates from the Masters in International Translational Program. Chu Si-ti. Gu Ting Long. Hugh Fook Ming. Huang Ching Feng. Liu Yuhan Kelvin. Thank you, professors. Next, I would like to invite Professor Silke Vogel and Professor Tan Kok Kian on stage for the ceremonial hooding of graduates from the Masters in Patient Safety and Healthcare Quality Program. Muhammad Nazri bin Abdul Ghani. Dr. Chong Siu Lee. Chua Hui Min. Heng Ai Ling. Dr. Heng E. Cheng Katrina. Huang Li Wen. Dr. Benjamin Huang Yuying. Dr. Kong Chuan Yi. Bernie Xiao T.E. Dr. Sim Gregory. Dr. Sui Du Soon. Teo Kai Yun. Dr. Teo Lee Ming. Dr. Wang An Mei. Thank you, Minister Ong, Dean Kaufman, and professors. That concludes the presentation of our new graduates. Congratulations once again. May I invite Professor Shiva to resume with the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you and well done, everybody. Sincere congratulations to all of our graduates and your very proud family and friends. Our MD graduates are only a few weeks away now from the privileged position of taking care of patients as fully fledged doctors. As a symbolic ritual and a grounding reminder of their commitment to service, these graduates and any medical practitioners and medical students in the audience will shortly be invited to recite the Hippocratic Oath. Leading the oath today will be Professor Mary Klopman, joining us all the way from Durham, North Carolina. Dr. Klopman helmed several significant leadership roles as Executive VP for Health Affairs at Duke, Dean of Duke School of Medicine, and Chief Academic Officer for Duke Health. A member of the Duke-NUS Governing Board as well, she additionally serves as guide and advocate for our school's ambitious academic mission. Dr. Klopman remains at the forefront of advancing healthcare with integrity and courage, herself a pioneering clinician scientist with authority on HIV at a time when that epidemic was escalating. Her service commitment and societal contributions have been recognized by membership to National Academy of Medicine and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and it is thus my pleasure to welcome Professor Klopman on stage to lead us in this significant moment.
So follow me, and I invite all the physicians and our new physicians to the oath of Hippocrates. I do solemnly swear by whatever I hold most sacred, we'll begin again. I do solemnly swear by whatever I hold most sacred, that I will be loyal to the profession of medicine, and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor, that into whatsoever home I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick and the well, to the utmost of my power, and that I will hold myself aloof from wrong and from corruption, and from the tempting of others to vice, that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and prevention of disease, and will give no drugs and perform no operation for a criminal purpose, and far less suggest such a thing. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep solely, inviolably secret. These things I do promise. And in promotion, as I am faithful to this oath, my happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite if I shall be forsworn. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Thank you, Professor Klapman. And now for something completely different. For your viewing pleasure, we present a short video of a few of our graduates showcasing a snapshot of the drive and dedication that has gotten them this far.
We're watching our videos from the white coat ceremony from 4 years ago.
I wasn't too sure how the 4 years is going to pan out.
I hadn't cut my hair, or I can't remember. And I was super self-conscious about that.
Oh, the white coat, the putting on is slow. Yeah, the slow-mo one.
It can be being so serious. Oh my gosh, it's been so long ago. Can't wait to see yours, Kat. Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready.
Alright, it's okay. Now's the time.
Hi, I'm
Gosh,
Catherine,
that's
and
you.
I'm the PhD student at Duke-NUS.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Wow,
interesting.
I know, right?
So many videos.
What a
from
throwback,
long
Kat.
time ago. Yeah,
Like, wow.
My white coat ceremony was like 9 years ago in 2016.
Yeah,
So during that time, they made us write our aspirations on a piece of note, and then they would like display on stage when we walked onto stage.
wow.
Yeah. So mine was actually, if I remember correctly, was to revel in and spread the beauty of science and medicine.
The main thing I really tell myself from back then is that to really just take a breather and just really soak in the 4 years, because I think we go through a lot within this short period of time.
The journey has been so different from what I thought that it would be. And I think telling myself in the past, maybe just putting one foot in front of the other and just to keep going. Even reminding myself that in the future,
I think it's important that you just kind of look back at the reasons for which I wanted to actually do medical school and just hang in there. And yes, to just trust the process. And eventually you will get to the place that you want to be.
medicine has really reshaped the way that I see things around me, the way I see the world, the way I see relationships with my family and friends.
When I first started medical school, I always thought that the technical skills and the knowledge were the most important things that we needed to grasp. But over time, I realized that having like the soft skills, as we call it, like empathy, adaptability, resilience, are really important as well.
Once I was in a hospital setting, and actually we had this patient who was actually a woodworker together with her husband. But what happened was that it became more of a conversation, not just revolving medicine, and it made me realize that medicine is not just about curing the patient, but I think just being there for them in their moment of need.
To be honest, the first 6 months, I had quite a bit of doubts whether I made the right decision because I was a pharmacist before, right? After the first team lead session that we had in B&D, that's when I kind of knew that I made the right decision.
to be kind to yourself and also to everyone around you, because medical school is tough, and also the transition to professional life will be even tougher, I guess.
I feel for me, it's really about embracing the uncertainty, being comfortable with change, and even going in as like fledgling house officers, medical officers, there will be so many things that will be new to us that may or may not have been covered in our curriculum.
The first is to actually treat the patient and not the disease. Actually sit down with a patient and just go through with them and understand them better in terms of who they are, what their priorities and their belief systems.
There's this patient that I had, just seeing how the change in perspective kind of brought a lot of strength and courage and much different outlook on what he wanted in his remaining days really left quite an impact on me. And that helps me to reshape my own view on things as well.
I will bring that with me in my career as well.
We shall try, we shall try.
Yeah, we shall try.
Our graduates indeed inspire us, and now we will hear from two of them representing the PhD and the MD classes respectively. I invite Dr. Wharton Chan, one of our MD PhD graduates and a musical prodigy who's been with us for close to a decade, to share his reflections with us representing the PhD class. Wharton, please.
On behalf of Prashad and myself, guest of honor, Mr. Ong Ye Kung, Minister of Health, our keynote speaker, Dr. Amy Abernethy, co-founder of Highlander Health and member of the Duke University Board of Trustees, Professor Mary Coltman, Executive Vice President for Health Affairs and at Duke University and Dean of Duke University School of Medicine, Mr. Goh Yulin, Duke-NUS Governing Board Chair, Professor Ng Wai Ho, Group CEO of Sing Health, Mr. Tony Chiu, Founding Chair of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Duke-NUS Governing Board members, Professor Thomas Kaufman, Dean of Duke-NUS, distinguished guests, faculty, family, friends, and most importantly, the slamming class of 2025. So at this point, I will typically recount my PhD journey, thank my mentors, and recall the camaraderie at the bench. But rather than doing that, let's flip the equation. Allow me to invite you to peek into the brain of a PhD. And don't worry, I only have 5 minutes. And so I won't be singing my speech too. So to do this, let's answer 3 things: the why, the how, and the what. So why do people do PhDs? Well, if you ask Auntie Tan from my favorite hawker stall, she'll probably say, "Ah boy, you still studying?" What was it again? Something cheem, right? That's probably how a lot of you feel when you think of a PhD. Long years, difficult problems, and impossible to understand. And on top of that, the why seems to be as elusive as ever. If ChatGPT is now able to generate in-depth literature reviews in a matter of minutes, then what is the point? Actually, the answer is very simple. It's because we want to grasp at the unknowns. You see this in my hand? It's a bottle of pills, ibuprofen to be exact. Now, my MD colleagues here would prescribe them for pain. But for scientists, we ask, why do humans feel pain? How can we reduce the pain? Now, we know that ibuprofen works on inflammation, but how does inflammation work exactly? That probably took hundreds, if not thousands of PhD to work out, myself included. And we're still digging deeper. We do PhDs because we're keen to visit the unknown. Next, you might wonder, how does one do a PhD? Now, if you go ahead and ask friends and families in the audience, they probably say this: they spend a lot of time in the lab. Sometimes they even disappear in the middle of night just to take a quick look at the cells. And they even spend weekends to feed the mice. Mice, and for myself, bats, they're the true unsung heroes of countless dissertations. But animals galore aside, amongst the 32 PhD graduates today, we have some who did clinical trials and others who did biostatistical models. What runs as a common thread among all of us is how we think. Imagine we start off on a boat. We set sail from the port, and our mentors act as our compass. They are our guide rails, preventing us from going the wrong way, yet the destination still unknown. As we develop our skills and competencies, we start to be able to read the winds, designing our own experiments, developing our own ideas. We still get things wrong, but we're able to spot them and make changes. But hopefully, towards the end of the PhD, we generate independent thought. That's like drawing our own map, using the insights that we have gained from the countless experiments at the bench, and to ask questions never before. Asking questions, answering them systematically, and bringing perspective. That is what we do. Finally, we ask, what is a PhD anyway? Now, allow me to borrow from a famous bioinformatician, Matt Might, who tells this to his entering graduate class every fall. Blue is the primary school, green is secondary and JC, pink is your bachelor's where you start to specialize, and that square box is where you end up as your PhD. And so you push 5 years of labor and love, and there. And if you zoom in even a little bit further, you will think that you have become a true specialist of your field and that your worldview is different. But if you take a step back, there it is. We are but a very small part of the world. It is sobering, but it teaches us humility and that the road to knowledge is a never-ending one. I hope by now I have managed to give you a glimpse of what doing a PhD is about, and that you wouldn't blame your friend for not showing up to the party just because he had to maintain his stem cells. But of course, this glimpse is but a small part of the story. There's also the hair loss too. But I must thank many on behalf of the graduating class. Firstly, to Silke, Rosilla, and Catherine from the Office of Graduate Studies. Without them, our seminars, defenses, and conference trips would be impossible. Of course, to all of our scientific mentors and supervisors, including for myself, Prof. Lim Fo Wang, in the audience. Thank you for always guiding us in these trying times. We are forever grateful for how you have groomed us into sound, grounded thinkers. Last but not least, to all of the family and friends who have fed us, supported us through the hair loss, thank you to all of you and to my dear family who is seated here today too. So I've been here for just shy of a decade. Next, I'll pass the baton to Prashad, who has been just shy of half a decade, to the speaker of MD Class 2025.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Prashad, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to address you on the behalf of the MD class of 2025. Thank you, Wharton, as well. So, Dean Kaufman, I'd like to present a case to you. May I proceed? Okay. So, our patient today is actually the MD class of 2025. They are a 25 to 40-year-old multinational class with a background of too many degrees to name, and who were then admitted to Duke-NUS Medical School about 4 years ago on the 19th of July 2021 with a chief complaint of wanting to be a doctor. On examination, they were noted to be lacking in medical knowledge and skills, but initial investigations showed an average medical college admission test score above the 90th percentile, an average GPA of 3.68 out of 4, and most crucially, a sense of determination and passion, indicating excellent potential for successful treatment. They were first admitted to the lead room, where they were supplemented with anatomy and physiology. Their time in the lead room was complicated by COVID-19, self-doubt, and a dearth of sleep. Thankfully though, regular infusions of coffee, catered buffets, food is important, and check-ins by faculty and staff, and boluses of humor and encouragement from peers saw them through. The results of the first-year clinical performance examination and knowledge test scans revealed sufficient improvement for them to transfer to the general ward. In the year that they spent in the general ward, referrals were made to general surgery, internal medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, family medicine, pediatrics, and psychiatry. There, they were pushed to their limits and subjected to intensive questioning by consultants during rounds, operating theatre, and clinics, where they developed skills to dust themselves off after a fall and keep climbing. Their minds became broader as theory got put into practice, and images and videos became real-life observations. Eventually, all the departments cleared them, and then they got sent to the laboratory. There, it was experiments and analysis galore. There were presentations at conferences and papers in scientific journals. They agonized over statistics and fretted over thesis drafts, all whilst undergoing two major procedures in the forms of the United States Medical Licensing Exam, Step 1 and Step 2. Early last year, we sent them back to the general ward with even more referrals. They toiled away at procedural skills, physical examinations, and MCQs to prepare for the final examination. With the high stakes, they pushed each other to improve. There was an uptick in white hair and cortisol levels. But thankfully, no permanent damage was done. They did well and passed the examination. To transition them, we put them back into the general wards, this time to take on some actual responsibility and master the key skills of getting a scan stat, getting blood on the first try, walking without bumping into things, all while talking, typing, and listening at the same time, and most importantly, reading the consultants' minds. Hence, I recommend that they now be sent home with 2 weeks of a well-deserved break and memos to MOH Holdings for continued up-titration of their medical skills and knowledge. As for follow-up plans, we will hope to see the patient again in 1 year's time when they get their full medical license, and then perhaps every 2 to 3 years when we have reunions. Dean Kaufman, may I now proceed to provide a prescription to our patient? Okay, yes. So the first prescription is a social prescription. Class of 2025, surround yourself with people who care and are willing to share the load. The peer who helps see a patient when you're overwhelmed on call. The partner who quietly has a meal ready for you when you come home after a long day at work at 10 p.m. The friend who continues to invite you even though you last minute cancel on them due to work commitments. These are the social ties that will help you through. Secondly, remember the first time. The first time that you tried to decide on the type of murmur that you heard. The first time you tried interpreting an ECG. The first time you tried to memorize the path of the facial nerve. We all had to start somewhere, and although eventually some of this became effortless to us, others may just be starting on that journey of mastery. Be generous in your assumptions and elevate others. Thirdly, and finally, remember that you meet your patients at perhaps their most vulnerable time in their lives, and that there is always something that you can do for them by acknowledging their suffering, striving to alleviate it, and making them feel heard and seen. As doctors, we have a lot of responsibility, but also the immense privilege, through our words and actions, to improve lives. With that, Dean Kaufman, may we discharge the class of 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctors Wharton and Prashad, for representing with such humility, humor, and heart. Class of 25, you've heard from influential leaders and inspiring speakers. There's little more to say, but congratulations. May your lifelong service to others be a credit to yourselves and to those who gave of themselves to raise you, sustain you, and train you. On behalf of all of us at Duke-NUS, thank you all for joining us today. And now I invite our dignitaries, faculty, and graduating class to rise and proceed out of the auditorium in the ceremonial procession. And to our other guests, we respectfully ask that you please stand and wait for the exit of the procession, after which you are warmly invited to join us at the reception outside. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony.